Hello there, Commonwealth from, and indeed, it's happening. And though we really had to wait for this one in 2024, it's very likely going to be packed, because we're probably going to see a lot of spin-off Mario, some big Zelda news, likely Metroid, Fire Emblem, and more. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell, and let's get into these Nintendo Direct predictions. We're gonna start off with Mario to differentiate from our previous Nintendo Direct video, because the big rumor or leak at this point is Project Banquet, a codename that has in the past tied to a certain very popular top 10 best-selling Nintendo Switch franchise, namely Mario Party. And yes, this game is the only one that can probably break into that list, as it will have to surpass Super Mario Party, which is probably going to be very difficult with so little time left. But a new Mario Party is definitely going to be the big holiday seller, no doubt. It's going to be what families are going to bring up, it's probably what is going to dominate holiday sales, especially when there's no Pokémon game coming out. But a Pokémon game could still show up in this Direct, as we'll soon get back to. So what to expect this game is going to be? Is it just going to be like Mario Party Superstars, or is it going to just be Super Mario Party 2? It is hard to tell because of the fact that one sold better than the other, but the other one also had 2 more years on the market. But I do feel like it could quickly end up being a blend, because I think the great appeal of Super Mario Party was the Joy-Con controls, and we don't know yet with the successor whether they are going to keep the HD rumble, whether they are going to keep motion-based control that was so influential in the Wii days, or if they're going to just focus on let's put the money into power instead. So this could be a last hurrah for that part of the Nintendo Switch console. Super Mario Party had a lot of innovative solutions where you could put 2 multiple systems together to play certain of the mini games, where you could just have it in upright position undocked and then play with the Joy-Con separately. And I think they might want to combine that with some of the refinements made in Mario Party Superstars. Let's remember, Mario Party Superstars was not a brand new Mario Party game, it was a remix of old mini games and N64 ports. So that covers Mario Party. Is there gonna be more Mario stuff? Not necessarily, because we've had so many Mario games. We have Luigi's Mansion 2 HD still coming out after this Direct, and by all means, it's just been a big Mario year with first Mario vs. Donkey Kong, then Princess Peach Showtime, Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door remake. I just feel like Mario Party is going to be it for Mario, and the rest of this presentation is going to be focusing on Nintendo's other franchises. Zelda. It's been talked about, rumored for a long time now, and whether it's going to be Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, I really think at this point you can't separate those two. I think you have to just bring them together, also to not get accusations that, well, you just ported it from the Wii U to the Switch and didn't do much with it. But by combining the 2 games and selling a more expensive port, that being $80 to $100, you get 2 full Zelda games, the 3D Zelda games with the most dungeons, and the first open world Zelda game. Even though, of course, they were using the sea as a way of masking the loading that you were going through, going to the next island in that game. I think the bundle of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess could be one of the really big showstoppers of this Nintendo Direct. It's either that or another Metopia example, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD just being the most recent example, is A Link Between Worlds. A Link Between Worlds is a game that is very well received. It's a game that is going to fit very well, especially after Link's Awakening sold so well with its remake on the Nintendo Switch. Both are rather easy for Nintendo to put together. The game sizes of these are not that big. We're talking about low gigabyte sizes, and where you can probably fit both games on a single 8 gigabyte cartridge. A Link Between Worlds is easily going to fit. I don't think that's an issue whatsoever. But I really think it's just going to be limited to one Zelda reveal, and we're getting it as a result that Tears of the Kingdom is not getting any DLC. If Tears of the Kingdom was getting DLC, then of course that would be the announcement. But because we're not, they probably want to have one final Zelda thing on the Switch in the fall of this year before getting to the next system, where we already have rumors about the Ocarina of Time 4K remake, and later down the line a brand new top-down Zelda game in 4K, because it's going to be a long wait until the next open-air game after Tears of the Kingdom. I'm leaning more towards the bundle of Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, but I'm also not disclosing or deconfirming A Link Between Worlds. I think those are the two games because they are easiest, and in a situation where the Switch 2 is not not coming out until 2025, I think this is the best strategy. Either of those options will be well received by Nintendo fans and of course Zelda fans as well. We've had a lot of news recently with Masterworks, with Lego Zelda, so we're already eating well, but we need the one thing that is missing this year, and that is a Zelda release, a video game release, that be. Now let's get into the question whether Donkey Kong, which has a big year. We also talked about with Roger that it is the 25th anniversary of Donkey Kong 64, meaning that could we have a 3D Donkey Kong? It's hard to tell. Most likely we're just going to end up with Donkey Kong 64 in Nintendo Switch Online. So I personally think that that's going to be it, because we already had Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and just like Roger said, Donkey Kong is better saved. Also from a graphical perspective for Nintendo's next system. And yes, Donkey Kong Country is opening in Osaka in this fall, but that is a delay. It was supposed, so it doesn't really have much to do with that. Instead, what they're probably going to market as a new game is going to be the Fire Emblem Echoes title, Genealogy of the Holy War, just like we have Shadows of Valentia as one of the final 3DS titles over 7 years ago. I just think that they are going to market it as that because this game was never released in the West. It was only in Japan. It's probably going to have a lot of the mechanics we know from the 2 Fire Emblem games that we know and love from the Nintendo Switch. As much as I would love to see other RPGs from Nintendo coming out, we have to remember we already had Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door just. But yes, Xenoblade Chronicles X is still a possibility. It's the only Xenoblade Chronicles game missing on the Nintendo Switch, but there are issues with bringing that game over. And it could very well be that this is the one game from that generation that will stay on that generation as well, that being the Wii U, even though that open world is just begging to be ported over to the Nintendo Switch. Metroid, because, well, we got Metroid Prime Remastered last year, but since then there's been nothing about Metroid, and I have a feeling that now that they have moved on from 2D, so Metroid Dread and the marketing tied to that one, unless we get of course a port of Samus Returns from the 3DS, which could make sense because we saw that Metroid Dread had some connections with the events of that game. I think that seriously it's time for another one of the Metroid Prime games, and it could also be shadow dropped, as Roger brought up in our games discussion before this video. And I think Echoes is a good fit combined with our first look at Metroid Prime 4. I really feel like they need to show us the game in engine on the Nintendo Switch so that we can have this coded in our brains before we get the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2 and then how the game looks in that system. So you need like the wow effect when this next system is revealed. We need to have like an imagination of what Metroid Prime 4 is before we see how it looks on the Switch 2. That covers the big franchises, the historic franchises with a long history, but let's not forget Pokemon. We have Pokemon Legends ZA coming out next year in 2025, and if there was a time to show first gameplay of that game, it would be here. And some will say, oh well, but a Pokemon Presents. Yes, but I have a feeling that with this being one of the final Switch games, it might be a good idea to show it as well. We saw that the Scarlet and Violet DLC was shown in regular Nintendo Directs last year in 2023, and even though Pokemon Legends ZA was revealed in the Pokemon Present in February, I think showing it here is a good strategy just to show the variety of the games still coming to the Nintendo Switch in possibly the final Nintendo Direct presentation before the reveal of the next system. So it's also a way of showing what kind of game this is. So Pokemon Legends ZA could definitely be showing up here with a trailer, and then we'll see what happens. But if we summarize all of this that we have brought up so far, it's a very solid June Direct. But I think also third-party games are going to help a lot in this regard. We have Square Enix with their Dragon Quest remake that has been talked about for a while. We have a number of other games coming out from Sega, like Sonic and Shadow Generations later down the line this year. There will always probably be a third-party surprise port, much like we already have this year with Kingdom Come Deliverance, but something from Square Enix, Capcom, Sega that we haven't known about. We know that Sega is working on a lot of new games for the coming years, reviving a lot of franchises. Even though I think a lot of those are going to come to the Switch too, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them are coming out this year, that it could be coming out to the Nintendo Switch as well. And then of course, in addition to that, there's the matter of Hollow Knight Silksong. There's a lot of games here that still could come out in the final months of the Nintendo Switch, and that is pretty much what this Nintendo Direct is all about. But we'll know soon enough, because the Direct is here, and there will be plenty more videos after that one. So if you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and press notification bell to not miss any of our post Nintendo Direct videos, reactions, topical videos, and of course much more on the reveals and the build up towards their releases in the second half of this year and also early 2025. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and a big thanks as always goes to all our patreon.com/CommonRun patrons. Special shoutouts go to Royal Producers, Zach Johnson and JC Fong, and heroes Holly Wolf, Cheryl, and Garrett Hoy. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.